We're going to be talking about the quarterback position on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. So obviously the quarterback position, a hot topic of conversation in Vikings land right now. And I do think we all need to just address it straight on the head. If J.J. McCarthy does not play another game this season, I think it would be naive to say that the Vikings won't be aggressive in the quarterback market. And I'm not just talking about going out there getting a Marcus Mariota or maybe trading for a Jameis Winston. I think they would make a super aggressive move because, hey, seats are hot right now. Jobs are on the line. There are people in this Vikings front office and on this coaching staff where if next year, if they don't potentially go win a playoff game, compete for the NFC North title with how bad of a season this has been so far, I think the Vikings could lose a lot of their brass and these guys could be fired if they're not successful next season. So are they going to feel comfortable rolling in with J.J. McCarthy, who has only played 8.5 games over the last 2 seasons? And yes, it is unfair to J.J. McCarthy. I wish the Vikings would be in a better spot where they could just let him develop for years after years after years, but that's not the reality of the NFL. Jobs are on the line. People understand it is a pressure cooker in this league, and I also don't think Kevin O'Connell, him rolling in the next season, I don't think he's the biggest fan of J.J. McCarthy, not in terms of his personality, nothing to do with him. I just don't think him as a quarterback, KOC, is like, oh, this is the guy that is, set up to execute my offense, a strictly drop-back passing game. Kevin O'Connell wants to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game. So I could see the Vikings going big fish hunting this offseason if J.J. McCarthy obviously does not play for the remainder of this season. Now, you guys let me know. Should J.J. McCarthy be QB1 next season? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no down below in the comments section. What do you think? I think it's a tricky conversation. As it stands right now, I still would say yes, but you guys let me know your thoughts down below. All right, so we're going to divvy this up into kind of 2 parts here. We're going to be going through all-in quarterback targets, so some big names like you see on screen right now, like Joe Burrow, then some realistic quarterback targets, and then actually one option in the draft. So we're going to start off with Joe Burrow here. And, I still think this has less than a 1% chance of happening. I think he would much rather finish his career in Cincinnati. He seems like that type of guy, but you never know. If he gets, frustrated with the Bengals front office and he's just, looking himself in the mirror and looking at this Bengals organization, maybe he wants to go out and go to a different team. Now, if Burrow does request a trade, I think the Vikings would be at the top of that list, considering his connection with Justin Jefferson. And also, the Vikings are a very stable organization. You got a really good offensive-minded head coach in Kevin O'Connell. So I think Joe Burrow, unlikely. But again, you never know what can happen this offseason. Now, number 2 here, Baker Mayfield. Now, this one's also unlikely. Like, most of these guys are unlikely as it stands right now. But a lot of this can change in the offseason. I think the Bucs are more likely to fire their head coach and move off their quarterback. But I would probably say this is a little more likely than Joe Burrow. Baker's got 1 more year left on his deal, and maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are viewing Baker as like, okay, if we could get like a first-round pick for him, maybe we just have a hard reset and we go in a different direction. So I could see Baker being somewhat available, but again, very, very unlikely for, Baker or Burrow to, be available here. Now, one guy that will for sure be available, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is an interesting decision from the Vikings front. But if the Vikings do want Kyler, they can go get him. Now, I think Kyler's stock is at an all-time low right now. I don't think he is as bad as people say he is. Listen, this guy was a top 10 pick in the MLB draft. He was the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. He's just an all-time great athlete. Like, he was the first player ever to be top 10 in 2 major sports leagues. But again, you talk about the fit with, Kevin O'Connell and Kyler Murray in this offense. There's some question marks there, but I would have a little more interest in Kyler Murray than I think most people. But you guys let me know. Who is your dream Vikings quarterback target? For me, it would be Josh Allen, but a more realistic one, I'll go Joe Burrow. But you guys let me know your thoughts down below. But quickly, a word from our sponsor. It is time to challenge the status quo, and Polymarket is now live to help us do so. You can be a part of the revolutionary alternative to sportsbooks with our special invite code. Download Polymarket's new app via the special link that is in the description and comments to unlock exclusive early access and a free $10 in your account with the invite code chat. Polymarket is a prediction marketplace that lets you make trades on the outcomes of sporting events. As you can see here on screen, you can even buy and sell within a game with live trading. Polymarket has the lowest fees ever. You trade against other people, not the platform, and you can cash out at any time and react to momentum swings within the game. You are in control. It's legal and available nationwide in all 50 states on their iOS app now. And for this week's Vikings game, Polymarket is giving Minnesota a 31% chance to win, which makes sense. I'm on the Lions this week, a team that has an actual chance to make the playoffs. So $10 is free waiting for you. No card, no deposit, nothing. Download the app with our exclusive code CHAT at chatsports.com/polymarket for exclusive early access and $10 free. All right, let's talk about a quarterback here that does have some connection with Kevin O'Connell, that being Matthew Stafford, as KOC was the offensive coordinator when Stafford won the Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams. Now, this is an interesting one because I do think if the Rams end up winning it all this season, which is fully on the table, I think they got the best head coach quarterback combo in the playoffs right now. And if they do end up winning it all, I think Stafford, there's a good chance that he ends up retiring. But also, like, let's just say that maybe they lose in the NFC Championship game and Sean McVay, maybe he wants to reset and they got that Falcons first-round pick for next season. Maybe Sean McVay says to himself, like, hey, Stafford, we had that kind of, contract dispute this past offseason where rumors were flying around. Maybe he says, hey, we'll send you to Minnesota. We'll get a first-round pick. We'll draft a young quarterback, and we'll just go our separate ways where still Stafford would be in a spot with the Vikings where he wouldn't be upset, where he's like, all right, he's still got KOC. He got some really good weapons there. So, again, this one's very unlikely as well, but, maybe the Rams win it all. Sean McVay wants to go in a different direction, go get his young quarterback of the future, and Stafford still wants to sling it. Minnesota, again, would be at the top of his list. Now, number 5 here. This is a polarizing one. How about Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson, it has been crystal clear this year. He is not a fan of John Harbaugh. There is something weird going on that Ravens organization, and he has been frustrated in the Ravens organization. Again, this is unlikely as well, but remember a couple years ago with that contract dispute where they put that tag on Lamar where teams could have just traded 2 first-round picks for Lamar Jackson, but that ended up not being the case. Teams weren't biting at that, which is so funny looking back at that situation. But, Lamar and a Kevin O'Connell offense wouldn't be an ideal fit. KOC would probably have to change, the way he does things. Lamar's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league to watch personally. He would stay in purple. But again, I think the Ravens, they're more likely to build around Lamar, let Harbaugh walk. But their relationship's really sticky. And maybe Lamar just isn't a fan of maybe DeCosta and the whole Ravens organization. So, again, all these are unlikely. This is more of a fun video. But you guys let me know. If you guys had to pick a quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, you guys let me know who you would pick. For me, this is an easy one. I would roll Joe Cool. I just think the fit in KOC's offense would be, pretty seamless. And then Lamar, both these guys have had an injury history. I mean, Lamar has also gotten sick. I mean, the past 6 winters, which is a whole different situation that, I'm sure Ravens fans talk about a lot. But you guys let me know. Pick a quarterback, Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow. All right, now some realistic options. Now, those 5 we just mentioned, I really think the most likely one would actually be Kyler Murray. But talking about some realistic ones, let's talk about Kirk Cousins returning. Now, Kirk's an interesting one because I got mixed feelings about Kirk returning to Minnesota. I do think, like on paper, a guy who understands the offense, he's familiar with Kevin O'Connell, he's got a relationship with Justin Jefferson. He also wouldn't make too much noise. Like, let's just say if you bring in Kirk Cousins and him and JJ battle it out in training camp and JJ ends up winning the job, like, it's not like Kirk would be like a noisy backup by any means, but he would also be a high-end backup where if JJ gets hurt, which his injury history, can definitely, we can see him getting hurt next season. I would have mixed feelings about Kirk because, I don't know, the more I talk this out, like literally live here on the show, like it does make some sense that, Kirk Cousins would have some interest in returning to Minnesota and the Vikings would have interest in Kirk Cousins. Now it comes down to the contract and everything with Kirk, but the Falcons, they could just flat out cut him this offseason or they end up trading him. They eat most of that salary. So Kirk, I got mixed feelings. But he would be a high-end backup for J.J. McCarthy. I just don't know if that's taking the Vikings, like, over the hump. Like, if you get Kirk Cousins, that's like saying, like, okay, we're cool with winning 9-10 games next season if he does have to end up being, the starter at some point. And then same can be said about this guy, Mac Jones. Listen, the Niners aren't going to give up Mac Jones for at least a day 2 pick, probably even a second-round pick compared to a third-round pick. And a second-round pick for Mac Jones, the Vikings are in no position to do that. The Vikings are strapped against the cap. They need to hold on to every single they need to do everything they can to just kind of turn this thing around. So a second-round pick for Mac Jones. I don't think the Vikings are in a spot to give it up. Also, same thing, like Mac Jones would limit the ceiling of this football team. He's a good quarterback. I think he would raise the floor a lot, but I'm not giving up a second-round pick for Mac Jones. But here's an interesting one. How about Geno Smith? Geno Smith's stock is at an all-time low right now, which is, he's an interesting quarterback because he was really good in Seattle. Now, when it comes to Geno Smith, like, he's got a hefty contract. It's $25 million on the books for this upcoming season. In 2027, it's $39 million. So you'd have to make it work financially, but maybe if the Raiders agreed to, eat majority of his salary, I would have some interest in Geno Smith. I think he would be a good fit in the Kevin O'Connell offense. But the only thing is with Geno, like, because if you're bringing in any of these guys we're talking about on this list, like, they would have to be cool with being a backup to J.J. McCarthy. I don't know if Geno would have too much interest there. But, again, he's been horrible this season. So maybe he would humble himself and kind of be okay with being the backup at first. But he would be a very high-end backup for the Vikings. But my favorite option on this list, Jameis Winston. Now, I was originally against Jameis coming to the Vikings because I thought he would be a little too noisy as the backup quarterback. But I kind of like his vibes to be a backup. Like, I don't think he is that much of a distraction. I just think he keeps people, their spirits high. And he has clearly shown, like this year with the Giants, like him going to Detroit, having that one game, he can go steal you a couple games if he needs to. Now, if Jameis has to play, 10, 11 games in a season, probably not going to go well. Teams will figure out, what he's got to do. But also, if you want to keep Justin Jefferson happy, how about you go get Jameis Winston? He'll just say, F it, 18's down there somewhere. So I would have some interest in Jameis. I'd also have some interest in this guy, Marcus Mariota. Mariota is just he's just a class act. Does his job at a very high level. I think he would be my second favorite option on this list. Maybe even Kirk Cousins, though. I don't know. The more I start talking about Kirk, I would, have some interest there because Kirk wouldn't be noisy. He's older. He could step in for a game and win you it. He understands offense. But Mariota, same thing can be said about him. But again, like if you bring in Mariota, is that enough for the quarterback room? Like if Justin Jefferson, if he's looking around, he's like, all right, we got J.J. McCarthy, Marcus Mariota. Is that enough for him to believe like, oh, we can go on a playoff run this year? Probably not. So that's where it gets interesting. But how about this? Dante Moore. There are some deep Twitter rumors that the Vikings front office love this kid. There are some deep rumors that Kevin O'Connell loves Dante Moore. And he's loved him for a couple of years, apparently. He was the number one recruit coming out of high school. This guy's a hell of a quarterback. He's incredibly accurate. He would fit Kevin O'Connell's offense pretty damn well. Now, the question becomes, how would you get Dante Moore? I think you would trade Addison and a couple first-round picks to a team like the Cleveland Browns or Tennessee Titans, and you move up to that 3-4 spot. But even if you do that, like you got a team like the Cardinals, the Jets, the Raiders, all needing quarterbacks up there. All I'm saying is I've had some people reach out to me about Dante Moore. I would not be shocked if this is like the Vikings' shocked NFL world move, and they trade up for a quarterback. And that quarterback, even if Mendoza's there, I promise you, the Vikings, they would take Dante Moore over him. We'll probably do a future show on that. It's a interesting situation to say the least. I just had I can't really say much, but Dante Moore, keep your eyes out on him. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Hit me with the skull down below in the comment section. We'll get on out of here. As always, Skull Vikes.